so what will we need for our lining? We have our 2 lining panels, and they're more or less the same shape as the exterior panels, but a little bit shorter. Both have been fused with a woven fusible interfacing. We have 1 zipper pocket facing panel, and that has been interfaced with a non-woven interfacing. If you haven't got non-woven, don't worry. I don't buy branded non-woven. I buy the cheap stuff from eBay that costs about £1. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. This one's actually a medium weight because I can't find the lightweight one that I bought, but a medium weight would work fine. If you haven't got any, don't worry, you can put woven fusible on, but it gives a better finish. Again, personal preference. You have 2 zipper pocket lining panels, both of which have been interfaced with a woven fusible interfacing, and yes, I've Franken-fused the scraps of woven fusible interfacing on the pocket linings. And you have a slip pocket. Now, in this instance, my slip pocket is a little wider than the pattern because the lady that's having the bags asked for a slightly bigger slip pocket that can be split into 2. So the principles of making it are exactly the same, it's just a little bit wider. And you're going to need a magnetic fastener. So we're going to start with our slip pocket, and I appear to have not quite got the same 2 pieces together here. What have I got? I've got 4 pieces and they all look like they're slightly different. There's something weird going on here. No, that's not. Right, that's my zipper pocket lining and this is my slip pocket. So with my 2 slip pocket panels, doesn't matter what size you make them, put them right sides together, matching up all of the corners, and you can put some clips in or some pins in if you want to. And I'm going to just make a couple of little marks on the bottom edge that are approximately 4 inches apart. As you see, I didn't measure that, and I'm going to stitch from one of those marks all the way around the outside edge back to the second mark. So there's a gap in my stitching. I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And now, this is a question that's been asked a lot of times. How do you know when to stop when you're using a 1/4 inch seam allowance? People say, well, I can go all the way along here, but I never know where to stop so that I'm doing a 1/4 inch seam allowance up the side. Ever so easy. You take a ruler and you make a mark that is 1/4 inch in from both sides. So this little dot is 1/4 inch in from this side and 1/4 inch in from that side. So when I stitch along here, when I get to that dot, I know that I'm going to stop, raise my presser foot, pivot and stitch up here, and I will be stitching at a 1/4 inch. You can make a dot in all of the corners if you really want to. If you're using a 3/8 inch seam allowance, then make your dot 3/8 inch from either side, from the bottom and the side panels. And it's really simple. It doesn't take 2 minutes to do, and it's a pretty much fail-safe way of doing this. So I'm going to stitch along the bottom edge. I don't generally put dots. I think it's, again, it's practice. I kind of know what a 1/4 inch looks like. I've reduced my stitch length slightly because this is a construction part rather than a decorative top stitching. So I'm coming along the top edge. So I've stitched all the way around, leaving the gap between those two marks. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim off the excess corners at 45 degrees, and then I take a little bit extra on both sides just to remove the bulk from the corners. What you need to be careful of is that you don't cut through your stitching. So cut close to it, but not right onto it. If you do catch your stitching, you can just go over it again, but it's annoying. But we've all done it, and I would challenge anybody to tell me that they haven't actually snipped through their stitching at some point. I know I have on more than one occasion. So having removed those corners for the bulky bits on the corners, I'm just going to turn my pocket right sides out. Pushing the corners out with my fingers. Then I'm going to take my, it's a bone, it's a folding bone, a pressing bone, used in card making and stuff like that, but it works for this. If you're a person that shoves their scissors in, do be careful. You don't want to shove your scissors straight through the corners. Just push those corners out, but be gentle. Don't push them too far, because if you do, what you'll end up with is a pocket that's not square, it's not got 90-degree angles, and you will be not terribly happy. So I'm just going to roll that seam, the top seam, between my fingers to make sure that the stitching is right on the top of my pocket. I'm not sure using striped fabric was my finest move, because it will show the fact that I probably haven't cut it as straight as I should do. Actually, it doesn't look too awful, but and I'm pressing that top edge, and I'm going to roll the side seams. Seems like a lot of work for a pocket, doesn't it? But my goodness, doesn't it make a difference when you've got a really smart looking pocket? Again, rolling that side seam. And then along that bottom edge, if I just give it a little tug, those side bits will kind of pop in on themselves. You can fidget around with them until they're sitting nicely. And you have a nice straight edge along the bottom, and press. And what you should end up with is a nice rectangular square 90-degree pocket. If you're not really careful, what you sometimes end up with is a sort of a concave side bit or a concave top bit. It's because you push the corners out too far, and that's it's bothersome. It's not the end of the world, but it's annoying. So we've created our pocket. I'm just going to pop a clip on that bottom bit to keep those edges folded in. And now I'm going to top stitch along the top edge, so that's the one that hasn't got the hole in, hasn't got the turning gap in it. And I'm going to do 2 lines of top stitching because I like to do 2 lines of top stitching. I'm just going to do 1 back stitch at the beginning to secure my threads, coming along the top here at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'll do my stray threads, and then again at an 1/8 of an inch. And that gives you a really nice sharp top edge to your pocket. If you just do your stitching at a 1/4 inch, sometimes the top edge of your pocket can look a bit puffy, which I don't like the look of. If you're looking into a bag, you want to see a nice sharp edge. Again, I'm just going to give that a press. happy with that. I'm going to take one of my lining panels, get rid of all these bits and bobs I've got here. Now I'm going to fold my lining panel in half to find the centre, and I'm just going to finger press it, which should give me an idea of where the centre is when I turn it over. Actually, it hasn't really, particularly because it's difficult to see. Actually, I can see it, but I'm not sure if you can. I'm going to fold my slip pocket in half. I'm just going to pop a pin in the centre there. And my slip pocket needs to go 3 1/4 inches from the top edge and be positioned centrally. 3 1/4 inches. Lovely. Now you can pop some pins in there if you want to hold that in place. And now we're going to stitch around the outside. So I'm going to start at one corner, come all the way down along the bottom and back up to the other side. If you want to pin it in place, you can. If you want to clip it in place, you can. Difficult to clip when it's in the centre like this, but so I'm reducing my stitch length down a little bit to about 3 1/2. And I'm stitching this in place using an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. To the bottom there with my needle in, pivot. Let's just make sure that's still sitting straight. So that's 2 1/4. Actually, that's not quite straight there, so I'm just going to bring that down a little bit. I think I've jigged it as I was doing it. And we're coming back along the bottom edge, and this will close up that turning gap on your pocket. And for anyone thinking, oh, she's done her fabric the wrong way around, I haven't. There's nothing worse than trying to find a zipper pocket that's been fully matched into your lining. And this stripe makes my eyes go funny. So I want my zipper pocket to be obvious. So I've done the stripes going the other way. I've actually got plenty of this fabric, so I could have cut it so that it matched, but I want to be able to find the pocket. So there's our zipper pocket attached. Now, if you've used the measurements in the pattern, you probably won't need to divide it. My customers asked for a divided pocket, so I'm going to use my central line, that fold. I'm just going to start at the bottom rather than the top, to divide this pocket into 2. Now, when I do a divided pocket, I always stitch from the bottom to the top. The reason for that is, again, it's about stretching of the fabric. Even though this is interfaced, sometimes if you start at the top and you go down, when you get to the bottom, you can even see it as I'm doing that with my finger. If I push it and go to the bottom, you get a little extra bit of fabric there where the fabric has just stretched slightly. And I know it's tiny, but it makes a difference. If you do it from the bottom to the top, it doesn't do it. So a back stitch just to secure the threads. She's also asked for a pen pocket, so I'm just going to pop a, let me just, that's approximately an inch away from the edge. So there we have a divided pocket. So you've got one for a pen, you've got one that's big enough to pop your keys in, another one for your phone. It's all good. Put your keys in there and that'll help keep you organised. This was 10 by 10 inches wide, same height as the one that you've got in the pattern, but 10 inches wide, which gives us a 9.5 inches worth of pocket to be divided up. So if you wanted to make a big pocket, feel free to do so. So I'll be back to see you in a minute with the zipper pocket.